we've all had that middle ground. And the highs aren't sustainable. Even when you're doing your dream and you're on top of a mountain, there's still the like, oh my gosh, I'm still missing something. Like it's still not the satisfaction that you were hoping for in your soul. And then when you're in the low lows, you desperately need a lifeline. And then when you're in the middle ground, you're like, what the heck am I doing with my life? So throughout every single low, middle ground, high, there's still this just absolute need for God. And I think just throughout my journey, experiencing all those levels, at the end of the day, it all comes back to I just got like I just need God. Like I just walking with him is the only thing that gives me satisfaction.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Made to Shine show. I was telling this special guest before she hopped on, I think my mother is going to re-listen to this probably like 67 times because she's fangirling so hard right now. But we have someone that I am so also excited to have on today. The beautiful, amazing, phenomenal, impressive, as you just heard in that introduction, Masey McLain on with us today. Masey, thanks for being on the show, girl.
Oh, I'm just so giddy right now to be on your show. Like this is so fun.
I'm so excited to have you on. And it's so funny, like everybody on this podcast knows the mission and the reminder is every single person has a ministry. It's not just preachers, it's not just pastors. It's literally the way you shine his light in all spaces that he's trusted you with. And my mom, of course, sent me your profile. Like I would die if you got her on the Made to Shine show. So I stalked you. And what I noticed though was like, yes, you're doing so many cool things, but like the light of God in Christ is just shining, whatever, if you're writing a song, if you're singing, if you're acting, like it was just so apparent. And just the kindness flowing out of your heart and all that you do, it really struck me. And so I'm so excited for this community to learn from you and to bask in that glow of yours today. But before we dive into all the things, I always kick off this episode and podcast the same way, which is, Masey, what is your favorite quote and why?
Oh, my favorite quote. So there's an artist. His name is Jason Upton. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's like old school. I've just now discovered him in the past like 2 years. He's a worship artist, but there's a song he sings called Mountain to Valley. And it's probably my favorite song of all time. I always kind of have it on. Oh, I mean, just like randomly throughout my day, I'll just play it. But there's a line in the song that says, "What a journey walking with you, God." And I feel like that line, it sounds so simple and so generic, and it can be interpreted like, oh yeah, it's a journey walking with God. But for some reason, that line always reminds me that the whole point of the journey is just God. Like,
Wow.
what a journey walking with you, God. So no matter what I'm going through in life, like a high, a low, just the weird in between middle land that we all find ourselves in, like I just keep coming back to that line. The whole point of the journey is God.
Wow.
So I love singing that line, and that's how I interpret that line. And even just within that, I'm doing the Bible recap. Have you done the Bible recap with Tara Lee Cobble?
Oh no, it's so funny. I'm doing a Bible recap, but I can't remember the author. I'm not Tara Lee Cobble, but tell me about it. Sounds amazing.
Okay. So anyways, like a while ago I was in Numbers, and it was going through like all the genealogies of like no, I was not in Numbers. I was currently in Numbers. I was in Genesis, and it was going through the genealogy of like all the, people right after Adam and how long they lived. And like these people lived hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And for some reason in our minds, I don't know why, but I think a lot of us think about them like walking around in the desert aimlessly and like kind of cavemen like.
Yeah.
And they weren't. They were brilliant. Like they lived hundreds of years. Think about how much we accomplish in 100 years. Think about what they could have done in 900 years, in 300 years. But anyways, there was a verse Enoch, I came across Enoch, like he lived 396 years, I believe, close to that. And the one sentence that defined his life in scripture out of living 396 years was Enoch walked with God. And I was like, out of all he probably did, like, we don't even know. He might have built all kinds of stuff. Who knows what he accomplished? Like, we just really don't know what life was like.
Wow.
Out of all he did, the one thing that defined his life was Enoch walked with God. And I was like, that's pretty wild. And so I kind of keep coming back to that with a favorite quote of what a journey walking with you, God, of like, no matter what, it's a comfort to me, no matter what season I'm in, no matter if it's a high where I'm doing amazing things or a low where I feel forgotten and not doing anything. The point of my life is a journey with God. And that's kind of what I would love to be written at the end of my life.
This is so wild. This is mind blowing because I got like chills when you're saying that. Literally, Masey. So I record a podcast version on Made to Shine called My Heart to Yours Thursdays. I record them on Tuesdays, and this past Tuesday, like, didn't even know what I was going to talk about, and I was like, boast about the cross. For some reason, that just kept coming in my mind. Like, if I'm going to boast, I'm going to boast about the cross. And literally how I went down and preparing that podcast was like, the reason, if there's anything we have to boast about, it's what Jesus did for us on the cross, is because no matter what you accomplish, it eventually fades. Even like your worst moment, it also eventually fades. Like when you get your confidence in God and you love the giver more than his gifts, that is like the key to just ultimate fulfillment and peace and joy. And I can't even make this up. In your song, 6 Years Old, my first question I wanted to ask you after that quote was, you talked about, you realized you were so fixated on the goal and you wanted the goal versus the journey. And so like, I literally wanted to kick off this podcast after you said just that with, talk to me about the difference between wanting the goal and the journey, and like the journey you've gone through to come to that revelation that it is about walking with God and it isn't about achieving like what he can do for you. Which is so crazy to me. Like that you just teed that up so perfectly. And so I guess to give you that or ask you that question, I'm just curious, like, take us back. You're doing so many things now. Was that always the goal, or was there another kind of storyline you were writing in your mind, and this journey God's taken you on is just nothing like what you thought it was going to be?
Okay, you froze like for 5 seconds. So sorry. Could you repeat the very first part?
Oh, yeah, I can edit. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just like the journey. Like, so take me through, did you always know that this is what you wanted to do, and like the goals that you're doing, they were goals? Or is this like a completely different journey that God took you on?
Oh, it froze again. I don't know what's happening.
Okay. Round 3. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes. Lord, please help this to work.
Okay, my editing team is gonna love this. I'll just mark it to make sure they know when to do it. But journey-wise, like, did you always want to wait? I want to make sure you can hear me.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you. I promise. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But like, just take us through that journey, like kind of what you've walked through, how your relationship with God formed to where you can confidently say now, the journey is the goal. It's not the goals, and the journey gets you there.
Yeah, I think this is something we can all kind of relate to if we all just kind of notice it in our lives, of like, we've all had really high highs and really low lows. And we've all had that middle ground. And the high highs aren't sustainable. Even when you're doing your dream and you're on top of a mountain, there's still the like, oh my gosh, I'm still missing something. Like, it's still not the satisfaction that you were hoping for in your soul. And then when you're in the low lows, you desperately need a lifeline. And then when you're in the middle ground, you're like, what the heck am I doing with my life? So throughout every single low, middle ground, high, there's still this just absolute need for God. And I think just throughout my journey, experiencing all those levels, at the end of the day, it all comes back to, I just got like I just need God. Like I just walking with him is the only thing that gives me satisfaction. It's the only thing that makes me feel alive. It's the only thing that gives me purpose. And
Yeah.
so all the other things just feel like, oh, this is just a part of life, or this is a part of my journey. These are the things he's using all throughout my life to sanctify me as I walk with him. But it just helps me reframe everything
Yeah.
of whether I get to do something that's really successful or that's really, takes off. It's not, at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, cool. Like, thanks God. Like, I'm so thankful I got to do that, but I got to do it with God. But this is going to fade in 15 minutes,
Yeah.
quote unquote. And so when
Yeah.
that fades, I'm still just walking. Like, I'm still just walking with God.
Yeah.
That's the point of my life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I
That's so
think
good.
just embracing the journey of the highs won't be enough. The lows, you can't get through without them. And then the mundane, you'll just be questioning your life 24/7 of what am I created for? What am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you just embrace the purpose is to walk with God. And
Yeah.
once you do that, it just gives you a whole new perspective of life. And
Yeah.
it's a lot more freeing because I don't know if I'm very goal oriented and I love the dream. I love the goal. Um, I don't know. I think maybe it's the performer in me,
Yeah.
but I think God's just continually sanctified my heart in that of he's the dream. He's the goal in it all. And
Yeah.
once I've come to realize that, it's just been a lot more freeing. Even when I'm disappointed by something,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, this is a part of my journey to walk through this with God. And
Yeah.
it's okay because
That's so good.
he's
You
the
you have such a personal, like, what strikes me about you is to get to that point, you have to have such a personal relationship with God, because you have to know for yourself, like, God is good and God is kind. And if you know that, you can trust that whatever you're going through will be used for his good and ultimately yours, because he loves you and he takes care of his kids. I'm curious, were you always introduced or knew God as like a personal God that you could lean on like this? Or what was the journey of faith looking like? And how is that influenced by what you do as an actress and as a writer that kind of developed in that relationship too, to get to the point where you can say, like, I trust God because I know him, not just about him, but know him.
Yeah. So I got saved when I was 7, and it was at a revival service. And it was just this moment, like I truly felt like the veil totally lift over my eyes, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I need Jesus. Like, I
Mm,
don't want to die without Jesus, and I don't want to live without him." And
mm,
so I just so vividly remember just as a little girl giving my heart to him and even not fully understanding everything, but knowing I was different and knowing I like he was in my heart. Like I just knew. And so that's when my faith journey began. Um, and then in high school was a really difficult time for me. It was just figuring out who you are and following Jesus and what that looks like. And um, I felt like I took a different path than a lot of people around me. And that made it really lonely and
mm,
kind of took me down a path of my like end of high school. I just was so sick of it all. And I just kind of spiraled and I was like bulimic for a year. I wasn't
mm,
ever like my character, Ashley in the Baxters, she's very like, she rebels outwardly. And mine was
mm.
always inward of like just inward spiraling.
Same.
Like if I'm gonna rebel, it's gonna be between me and myself. Like no one's really probably gonna know, but it's gonna be all inward.
Mhm.
Um, and so I went through a really dark time of just I was just so just focused on me, and I just totally took my eyes off the Lord and um really spiraled. And one day I'll never forget, I was looking in a mirror. It was like my junior year of high school, and I was so miserable, so, so miserable. And anytime I've been in these really, really dark places, I've always felt the Holy Spirit whisper to me, like, you have a choice. Like, you can either continue down this
Mhm.
and completely destroy yourself, or you can choose to trust me with every single ounce of your being. no matter what it looks like. If you're lonely, if you've got tons of friends, whatever, you have to choose. And it was just such a like, those moments where you hear God, but you don't audibly hear him, but it was such a clear, I knew he said, you have a choice. And so I just made a choice that day. And I just decided to stop self-destructing and put my eyes on him. And he ended up just being closer than any friend I'd ever had that year, like my senior year of high school. And that was really my like first, I think, like intimate, like really close time with the Lord when you don't have anyone else. And it was the sweetest, most sanctifying time. But it was also really interesting because I really feel like God used that time to prepare me for what I was about to go into with the entertainment industry and what it looked like to be different while everyone else was doing something. What is the price you're going to pay? Like, what does the cost look like? You've walked it. So I kind of was getting a taste of that, of not just walking that, but what does it look like to kind of embrace it and just be like, okay, this is, yeah, I'm not going to allow this being different to make me self-destruct anymore. I'm going to actually use it of this is the life I've been called to, and I get to walk with God in it. So I kind of feel like my senior year of high school was like boot camp a little bit of training me for what was ahead. And then I went to college. I
Yeah.
was doing acting. I still didn't know what I was doing with my life. All my friends were going to be like teachers and nurses and like very stable careers. And I was like a circus performer, just like doing auditions all the time and random
Like in
things.
an actual circus with elephants?
I felt like it. No,
That's amazing. I
Can
love that.
you imagine if I was like literally in a circus? No, but the acting world feels like that at times. You're just like constantly auditioning. You're just like
Oh,
dropping things at the drop of the hat just to go run and do an audition, and there's no stability in it. Like even when you're a working actor, you're also like, how long is this going to last? Where's my next paycheck going to come from? When's my next job going to come in?
yeah.
So I was really questioning if I was supposed to do acting or not, but I ended up going to college and I met my best friends in the world that were like just such strong believers. And it was just such a refreshing time. And I fell so even more deeper in love with the Lord in college.
Mm.
And it was still a very refining time, especially with acting. I was trying to figure out, your 20s, like especially early 20s. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? So I feel like that was a big journey and I have so many stories within that of the Lord keeping me in acting. But I really feel like he's used I I feel like anything we do is really just a part of our sanctification to go
Yeah.
home to heaven. You know what I mean? Like this isn't our home. So even acting, I'm like, or anything in my career, I'm like, this is a means that God is going to use continually again and again and again to
Yeah.
sanctify me and just a path that I can walk with him in. So that's part of my journey. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I think throughout all of that, I've just learned in every single season, and it's been hard to learn, but to embrace the journey and
Yeah.
embrace
And I think, but that's so beautiful. I love, so recently I was with a high school and I was talking to some girls and I was talking about the story of David and how like all of us know David for David and Goliath, but like there was 14 years between when David was appointed and when he actually became king of Israel or first of Judah. But we forget that. Like we forget that there was 14 years. And in that 14-year span, he was on the run for his life. He was like an Uber Eats delivery boy delivering bread to his brothers. He was a harp player. I'm like, what in the world? If this was me, if I was appointed, like if I felt like I got a promise from God to be the queen of whatever, and then I was a harp player and then a Uber Eats delivery girl, I would be like, Lord, I think you forgot. This is not what I thought it was going to look like.
Yep.
And the way you speak about the journey, I think when you understand the goal is to walk with God, it frees you up to surrender to what that looks like. Because oftentimes it's not our actual circumstances that make us freaked out. It's how they contrast to the way we thought God was going to do it. That's like, wait, no, what? I didn't
Yep.
think it was going to be this hard. I didn't think it was going to be like this. And
Mhm.
being able to develop that relationship, like, God, wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you walk, I will walk. I just want to be with you. And that's what I saw with David. It's like the difference between David and Saul. David knew any authority of his is submitted to God's. He just wanted to be with God. And I think about you and what you said with your journey. It's like wherever God takes you, I've never heard it put our gifts act as like a sanctifier. They act as further part of our sanctification. And whether that's, because you're an actress, but you're also a writer and you're also a wife. You know what I mean? Like you're a friend. You do all these things. All of our avenues should further sanctify us.
Mhm.
And I'm curious because I also do a lot of different things. Like I do this podcast, but I also I love writing and I'm also a writer. And so I think there's power in God using different avenues to teach us more about Him. And a lot of times we live in a world that wants to box what we do into one thing. So talk to me about the power of like doing multiple things in your life and how that leads you to know God more and know who you are in Him more than if you just did one thing.
Yeah, that's a really cool question. I feel like all these areas of life, I mean, it's just, I feel like it's part of just like being human too, of like, God didn't make us just like, oh, I'm going to do this like a robot the rest of my life. It's like, I also think my husband also puts it like
Mhm.
this. He's such a visionary and such like a, I don't know. I love the way he views God, but sometimes he's like, he feels like life is a big field and God's like, go build, go play, like, go have, like, go do what you want to do. I'm with you. Like, I've given you all of this to steward and I've given you a mind. I've given you a heart. I've given you gifts. I've given you abilities and go see what happens. And so part of what I've learned throughout my journey is just like trying things and but the key is, I hope I can say this right, is like doing it with the Lord and not out of striving, because I have gotten
Mm.
sucked into the, I mean, many times I've gotten sucked into the trap of striving, trying to make things happen, trying to work myself to death,
Mm.
when I think there was a level deep down in my heart that there was a motivation that was wrong. Like I was really doing it because I want to do something, because I want to prove something, because I want to be successful. And I was so miserable when I was doing things like that. Actually, writing started out like that. When I
Really?
was writing like scripts and everything, when I started out, I loved learning about it all, but I was really doing it from a striving mentality, because I was like, when I started writing, I was in this season where it was very stagnant, career wise. So God was doing the most work in my life ever. But it career wise, everything was on a halt. And I was
Mhm.
so frustrated because I was like, nothing, I feel forgotten career wise. I feel like nothing I do works. I feel like I am just running in circles. And I was just like, well, I'm going to try this. And trying writing was not bad. I really feel like the
Yeah.
Lord led me to that 100%. But I got to this point where I was just, I mean, literally it would be 11 o'clock at night. And I had started writing at 7 a.m. in the morning and I just hadn't stopped. I mean, it was like I was
Wow.
just like turned into this workhorse. And my husband sat me down and he was like, "You are so miserable." He was like, "This is miserable. You're miserable. Um,
Mm.
you've got to figure, like, we've got to figure out how to do this in a healthy way." And he was like, "Something I'm not seeing in you is I'm not seeing you work with the joy of the Lord. And I'm not seeing you." He was like, because the verse that says, like, work at it with all of your heart, working at something with all of your heart is not bad. That is actually a scripture says to work at it with all of your heart, whatever you're doing,
Mhm.
but work unto the Lord,
Mhm.
not for men. Or I
Mhm.
rephrase that in my mind, work unto the Lord, not for Masey. So
Wow.
I have to like restructure that. And so I remind myself when I, in whatever I'm doing, of just like, use these gifts God's given me, try different things, but don't try to build this sandcastle kingdom for Masey. Like,
Wow. That's,
work at
I
this with
think
all of
that's
your heart.
important to talk
Do it
about
with the joy of the
because
Lord, but work as unto the Lord.
there,
Like he's given you a body, he's given you a mind, he's given you a mouth, he's given you gifts, he's given you a heart. Funnel all these things for his glory and see what he does.
yeah,
But don't do it out of striving.
yeah.
And so,
What are the indications though that you're doing it out of striving? Because I so relate to you. I am a workhorse. I am like, there's a to-do list, let's go. I love a
I'm
to-do
gonna do
list.
it.
And sometimes, same here, I have gotten caught into, like, sucked into this striving, going, never stopping. Um, what are some indications that you're working out of strife versus love for God and wanting to honor and glorify him with your work?
Yeah. I think when my thought patterns become all about me and what I'm wanting and what this needs to be and what this needs to happen, because if I don't do X, Y, and Z, this isn't going to happen in my life. Or it's, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you can relate to this. It just, everything subtly all becomes about me. And I just start to get into this. And part of it, I do think, is starting to look around at other people's races and what other people are doing and other people's
Mm,
careers. And, and I know it sounds cliche because we're all like, we compare ourselves, but it's true. We all do it. And I start to kind of compare my race, my journey with I'm not moving fast enough. Oh my gosh, I should be at this level by now.
mm,
And so when I start to manipulate what I in my mind, what I think, where I think I should be, what I think I should be doing at this stage in my life, that's when it becomes a striving mentality for me. But when I just
mhm,
like wake
mm,
up and um I'm just like, wow, like today God has given me this show to ride on. What, like, I'm
yeah,
currently writing on a TV show right now. And I'm like, and I got super disappointing news about something else yesterday. But
mm,
I decided, like, I took a moment. I was like talking to my writing partner, and it's really fun working with my writing partner. She's one of my best friends in the world, and she lives in LA. I live in Atlanta, and we write every day together. Like, we're kind of like a duo. But anyways, we were talking about it, and I was like, you know what? Look, I'm gonna like focus on what God has given me to do, and just
mm,
do that and have a great time with God doing it. And not focus on, man, this should have happened because if that would have happened, that would have catapulted me to this level. And this
yep,
would have taken me. It's like just kind of resting in what is he doing now and how can I just join in on that and just do it with him and
yeah.
not be so focused on Macy.
That's, it reminds me of like Moses. Like Moses is like, I can't do this. And God's like, what do you have? You know, he didn't even address Moses's like, I don't feel good enough about myself comments. He's just like, what do you have? What have I given you?
Yeah,
And I
around.
was reading Galatians the other day with a friend, and we were talking about Paul and how Paul, I love Paul because Paul's like, I wasn't taught, like he just, and I
Yeah.
love that because I'm like, I didn't go to seminary and sometimes I feel like an imposter. And Paul's like, I wasn't taught either. And if I get caught comparing myself to Peter or comparing myself with the disciples that actually walked with Jesus, I wouldn't be focused on bringing the word to the Gentiles that God trusted me with. And I
Mm,
think that's so cool about what you've done. And you see that in the fruit of your life. When you're focused on what God's doing, like God's doing a good work in you, you're able to be faithful to that completion. I think sometimes the enemy, if he can't take the calling God's put on our life off our life, he'll make us so distracted by everybody else's calling that we don't live into it and we don't participate in it. And so I think that's so powerful. And I want to ask you too, like, you mentioned like writing with your best friend, like your best friend's your writing partner. You
yeah.
also, I know you mentioned like you have some awesome mentors in your life with Candace and with other people. And I think we've lost the art of collaboration. We live in like a very isolated, like if you win, I lose kind of world. And I am just so passionate about having like good people in your life that are maybe even doing what you're doing and they could be seen as competitors, but like
Mm.
looking at them as people that can mentor you or encourage you or collaborate with you. So talk to me about, especially in your industry where it's so cutthroat and it's like If they got the part, you didn't. You know what I mean? Talk to me about the power of just making sure you have relationships in your corner that you can either work with or have
Yeah.
encourage you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a big thing because I've struggled with this a lot at times of looking around and seeing what God is giving other people to
Yeah.
do. And I mean, sometimes I've felt like, God, like, is that your favorite daughter? like, you
Same.
know?
Same.
It's like,
Yeah.
I thought I was your favorite. Like, I like to joke about that, but you just kind of look around and you're like, oh, I guess you like her more, you know? And that's such wrong thinking. The Lord's taught me through that of any time I see someone getting something that I wanted or that I was up for or that I like would really like to be doing, he's taught me to immediately thank God for what they're getting to do because if we're all on the same team, it's all about the kingdom. So thank God they're getting to do what they're doing.
Yep.
And also, he's taught me to bless them and ask God to expand their territory in whatever they're doing. So, not my territory, not God, will you make me bigger, make me better, but God, will you bless this? Thank you so much for giving this to this girl. Will you bless her and just give her more? Like, give her more. And every time I do that, it's like my heart frees. It's really
Mm,
strange because to do that takes faith that and the Lord's taught me that it takes faith that just because I'm asking her to be blessed and expanded and all this kind of stuff,
mhm.
like the Lord is not limited. I think we,
Yes.
because we have this mentality sometimes. I've talked about this before that like life is like a pie and God is only giving out certain amount of slices. And if she gets that slice, then what's going to be left for me, Um, but I read a verse recently and it was when Moses, all the Israelites were complaining, are they going to be fed? Are they going to be taken care of? And Moses is talking to God about it. And God literally says to Moses, like, is the arm of the Lord too short?
Wow.
No. Like, I love that verse. I've never really noticed it before, but I was like, that's such a good verse. Is the arm of the Lord too short?
Mm,
Like, no. Oh my gosh. Why would someone
yes.
else's like blessing or success mean that the Lord cannot do what he wants to do over here in my life? You know what I mean? Um so anyways, I always kind of come back to that of like no matter what is happening, the arm of the Lord is not too short. And yeah, and I've had some great mentors in my life. One of my mentors, she actually is my counselor and she's like turned into my mentor. And oh my gosh, I'm learning so much from her every single day of how to walk this journey with the Lord and all the things I struggle with. And Candace is a mentor. Candace Cameron Bray is a mentor in my life, especially with films. And
Mm,
something about her is I do feel like in Hollywood, you can have this mentality of like, who's gonna like, I don't see a lot of like women mentoring other women because you're kind of
mhm.
protecting yourself and what you're building and you don't want anybody else coming after that. You
Yep.
don't want anyone to kind of take that from you or kind of take the spot, ever take the spotlight
Yeah.
from you. And
Yeah.
she from day one has always just been like, I believe in you. I'm
Wow.
pouring into you. I see you. Like there
Wow.
has been no ever like protection of this is what I'm building, don't come near it.
Yeah.
And that has taught me so much of just like, gosh, it's just so backwards from how the world kind of does it. And I'm like,
And it
oh, it's so good.
I think it also speaks to your faith. Like when you understand God is not a God of scarcity and we're called to love his children, like I can give abundantly because God's given me abundantly.
Yeah.
And I think that, this is not in the Bible, but it's just a quote that I love, which is like, you should always have someone that's ahead of you speaking life into you, someone that's at the same mile marker of the race than you that you can run alongside with, and someone that you're shining the light for that's a little behind you. If you
Yeah.
want to look at it as like life is like a race. And I think that's always so good. It's like who in your life is in the same season as you? Like, I remember when I was going through a season where all my friends were getting engaged and married and I was still single. I was like, God, I need single friends. Like, I need people in my season.
Someone,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Um, and then, like, I also need people that are ahead of me. Like, I need a mentor. I also need to make sure I'm being a mentor because there are I mean, if you're living life and you're past the age of like 18, you qualify as giving like advice. You know what I mean? And there's always someone you can mentor. And it's just like holding yourself accountable to having and being that.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And Masey, I know we're coming up on time here. So I want to ask you the last question that I always ask every single person on a Made to Shine show, which is Jesus talks so much about having childlike faith. And like, I think there's so many ways my mind think about that. But what would child Masey, however old do you want to put yourself? Child Masey, what advice would she give current day Masey?
Oh, wow. What advice? I love that because usually people say, what advice would you give her? That's so good. I love
Yeah.
flipping. Oh my goodness. What advice would child Macy give current day Macy? I think the advice she would give is just to like, I mean, I kind of go back to my song 6 Years Old, like go pick flowers on the side of the road, like just let go, like enjoy life, like see the beauty that is literally right in front of you. And I think that does, again, it comes back to my performer goal mind. And that's what I always just go back to of like just being a kid again. And there's just God's kingdom and his beauty is absolutely everywhere. And just like it reminds me of that verse, like the burden, like the burden following his burden. I can't say this right. His burden is light. And sometimes we just put all these yokes on us of I have to do this, I should do this, and all this stuff. And it's so heavy. And the older we get, we just carry it all around. And we didn't have that when we were a kid. And I know little Macy didn't have that. And so I think she would just remind, even like as a 7-year-old that just started following Jesus, of like, his burden is light. And I don't like
Yeah.
that little girl doesn't have all those weights on her yet. And just remember his
Wow.
burden's light and
Mhm.
bind that truth to your heart and
Wow.
enjoy him.
Enjoy them. And that goes back to what you initially said, which is like a lot of times those yokes come from these expectations or these goals that we feel like we have to achieve to be good enough, or other people put on us or the world puts on us, this invisible world standard we all have for beauty and career, and like no one actually knows what it is. It's just this thing we all have in our mind. But like Jesus's yoke is easy. And so like when you walk the journey with Jesus, instead of putting on all these goals on yourself you feel like you need to be at to be good enough, and realize you already are because of what God did for you by
Yeah.
sending his son to die for you. For God so loved the world and loved you to do that. The walk is enjoyable. And I'm going to think about what you said about your husband, like looking at life as just this amazing field. Like God's like, go play. Cause that was me as a kid. Like I just was like always building and creating something. And
Yeah.
there was no, can I do this? It was just like, let's see.
Just go
And if
play.
it sucks, but we'll
Yeah.
pivot. Like that was just me. And so Masey, you are such a delight. Where can people find you? What are you up to right now? How can people tag along with your journey?
Oh man. So I'm on Instagram and it's at Masey, Masey McLain, McLain, Masey McLain. A lot of people think my name is Massey or Maisie, but it's Macy. It's just spelled really different.
Oh, really?
So I'm on Instagram and I really a few years ago I like got rid of Twitter and I haven't rejoined that world, honestly. So really the places I'm at is Instagram and Facebook. Facebook is the same. I'm like, this is the two places I'm at. So, but
Girl,
yeah.
same. I don't have a Twitter. My grandma has a Twitter, and she gives me crap about like being better at social media than me because she has 2
Oh,
followers on Instagram, but she has a Twitter.
but she
So shout out.
stressed me out. I was like, I can't. I don't
And
think
it's X now. It's not even Twitter. It's X.
Okay, it's X. Yes, yes, yes. But I was like, I can't handle all these thoughts, all these people's thoughts 24/7. I was like, I need a break.
And I was such like a picture book kind of kid. Twitter is like my worst nightmare because it's
Like,
all these thoughts with no pictures.
yeah, I was like, this is too many words. It never stops. I'm like, I could be reading 5 books by now. I've read all these people's thoughts
Literally.
things in the world.
Oh, girl, I relate. I relate. Oh my gosh, Masey, you were such a delight. Everybody go follow her, give her some love, go see all the good she's doing for the kingdom. Thank you for being on the show today, Masey.